and welcome to the Adventitious Adventures podcast. As said before, the story we are exploring is based on a real-life D&D campaign. If you're liking it so far, make sure to like and follow the channel for updates on when episodes are out. Also, feel free to share with friends. You can also find these episodes on YouTube, and our original written episodes can be found on WordPress.com under the same name. We enter the story once more with the party having been separated after getting exiled from the Northern Kingdom. The major threat to the realm of Tharizdun and the portal in the Barrens may have been subdued, but it seems that not all is right with their world, and there may still be some kind of threat lurking just on the edges, waiting to be seen. Our story opens once more with Inara, Malvis, and Hobbs continuing their travels to the town of Bosch in the back of the merchant Doug's cart. They all seem pretty exhausted and uncomfortable about the journey in many ways. Hobbs because of Doug's incessant need to remind him he is old, Malvis because he still has not seemed to mend the bond between him and Ula enough to use his magic, and Inara because of Doug's misogyny and concern for how Malvis is coping with all that has happened while they were separated from the group. They've gone about halfway to the city when they are stopped suddenly. From in the back of the cart, Hobbs, Inara, and Malvis can hear voices, which seem to be soldiers, who are talking about needing to check the cart. Doug basically tells them he has wanted people in the back, but the soldiers seem so used to and annoyed with the merchant that they instead just let him continue on his way. The tale then switches to the town of Bosch, where Mitchum and Stephanie have just arrived into town with a pair of horses. They see a merchant cart pull into town and stop close by where they are standing. The man greets them with a smile, as if he has met them before. However, Mitchum has no memory of talking to him at all. Before their exchange can go much further, Inara, Hobbs, and Malvis leave the back of the cart and step into view. Realizing it is Mitchum, they greet him with surprise, with Inara even hugging him, happy to see that he has made it through. While they are reconnecting, Hobbs and Doug are still arguing about whether he should have to pay a fee. However, instead of hearing Doug's voice responding, Malvis hears Ula tell him not to disappoint her again. After a few minutes, the merchant leaves, and the group is free to catch up. They now notice that Stephanie is with Mitchum, and seems slightly surprised. Hobbs senses that there is something between the two, but keeps it to himself. Mitchum then tells them about his sister choosing to leave for safety. He also tells Inara Persephone's message about how she cannot continue her quest in these lands. Stephanie also leans to Mitchum and reiterates Persephone's message about being wary of Malvis. After some more discussion, the group decides to go to a nearby tavern and get a drink. They sit in the corner trying to be discreet. Malvis still seems off, but does not want to talk about it, instead enlisting Inara's help. She tells about some of what they encountered while they were separated, and his vessel, and Ula. While they are talking and drinking, a man gets up on a chair, addressing the gathered crowd. He talks about the greatness of this new king, Hannibal, and how the current king has proved he is not capable by trusting in such incompetent, worthless people. Understanding that this man must be talking about them, the group makes the decision to continue to the south. Suddenly, as they're discussing how to get there, Doug appears once more, claiming that he will take them south as long as they offer him protection. Not necessarily happy at spending even more time in the merchant's company, the group grudgingly agrees and heads out. The story then switches once again to the southern city of Meering. Chopet is with a group of adventurers that work to defeat Tharizdun. They're partying and telling people of their battle. An elderly man wearing nice clothes approaches and asks if they would like to make money by using their newfound fame. He offers them up to 10 gold per day to meet people and use their likeness. They agree, though Chop brings up the man who approached her, missing his friend. The men don't say much, and once more the reality of the group of others who are supposed to help out is brought up in a negative way. As the men leave, the party continues, and Gear approaches Chop, making sure that she is doing okay. The scene switches back to the rest of the group once again, as they are moving through the barrens on their way to the south. When they get about halfway through, they come across a scene of what looks to have been a large battle. It is not obvious from the carnage of which side was the victor, but the scene is definitely chilling. As the cart moves past, the group hears a sound coming from the trees. It ends up being the two other adventurers, who then relay the message Gear wanted them to about where Chop was headed. The group turns to head in the direction of Meering. However, Mitchum turns back and hears more about what had happened here, and Chop herself. Time seems to continue, and when the story picks up once more, the town of Meering has begun to return to normal day to day instead of celebration. As the merchant's cart carrying the group enters the city, they are taken aback by how large and busy it is. All around them are people about their everyday adventures. Moving through the city and along the road, the group sees merchants selling painted depictions of the saviors, those who fought and defeated Thuristan. However, the artists may have had some creative license. It is also very apparent that the city is in love with its cheeses. After asking where they can find these heroes, the group is pointed to the center of the city, where they conveniently seem to be talking to citizens. As they make their way through the gathered crowd, they recognize most of these heroes, as the group they'd encountered before. Except with a new member, a red-headed halfling girl who couldn't possibly be Chop, since she was depicted as much different in the paintings they saw. Hoping for more information and clarity, they approach Titanius, the leader of the other group, who upon seeing them immediately seems angry and questions where they had been. The group tries to explain, however it seems like Titanius' anger makes it a lost cause, and he instead points in the direction of the halfling girl, calling her Chop and praising that she had been there. Obviously seeing this as a dismissal, the group moves over to try and talk to this Chop, though still unsure since she looks so much different. Before they reach her, they are greeted by a lizard man who introduces himself as Gear and says that they are the ones he has had visions of. He introduces them finally to Choppette, who at first does not seem sure they are who Gear says, and has some strong thoughts on the lot, especially Malvis, who she seems to very much dislike. Hobbs talks to Gear about how the stars had told him to bring all of these people together, and in turn Gear tells him about Persephone's message of finding them as well. Chop tells Inara also that someone is looking for her, leaving out exactly who it is. Beyond the seeming collectedness of Gear and Hobbs, the rest of the group seems to all be talking over one another, sharing their thoughts and opinions. There's so much fighting between everyone that Hobbs decides to try and break things up. He casts a spell, but other than displacing most of the town people, it does little to stop the arguments. In the middle of this chaos, the man that Chop had met at the tavern approaches, and reminds her of the mission he gave. He tells her that the place he believes his friend is being kept is called the Temple of Bright Light, and that it should be easy to find because it is large and has signs. After some discussion about whether they are obligated at all to do anything, the group collectively decide to help the man. Chop and Gear finally explain what the man had asked of them, and his story on the way. While they are walking, it is obvious that the public likes and respects Chop. However, it also seems that more people had seen the exchange with Titanius, and apparently do not like the rest of the group very much. After having been put down by Chop, and now hearing the public's message, Malvis casts Thaumaturgy, trying to ease the situation. Surprisingly, it works, meaning Ula must have given him back his magic abilities. The group eventually finds themselves outside the Temple of Bright Light. The building is beautiful and definitely a sight to see. All around them are people dressed in white and yellow robes, and a cauldron has been placed outside of the doors with people asking for donations. They ask about taking a tour of the building, and some people in nice armor point them in the right direction. Going inside, the building's grandness is just as obvious. They see a small group of other people waiting in the entrance, obviously there for the tour as well. Moments later, a young man approaches, explaining that his name is Levi and he will be leading the tour. He begins to talk about the temple and how the tour is just a tour and no one should be pressured to join. However, in true fashion, the group starts to argue with the young man and be difficult, to the point that they draw attention, and the other group of people move away with Levi as an elven woman comes to greet them. The woman tells him her name is Yolanda, and she will lead their tour now, and also try to answer their questions. They ask about the man from the tavern, and Yolanda tells them he had come a while back, wet from a rainstorm, and asking for forgiveness. He had claimed he had betrayed a friend, claiming it was the ultimate betrayal, and that he should not be given forgiveness. He asks to join the temple and for safe harbor. That is all that Yolanda knows about the situation, but says that she can bring them to someone named Callie, who could possibly know more. The group follows Yolanda to an inner room, which ends up being occupied by a female tiefling, who is praying. Greeting us, she seems surprised at seeing Malvis, since their race is not very commonly seen. After introducing herself, she tells about her conversation with the man. Her first thought was that he was just another drunk. However, he tells her the same story about how he betrayed a friend named Samantha. They apparently were having money trouble funding their business venture, and the man reiterates how he had made the ultimate betrayal. Callie stops at this point in the story for a moment, once again addressing Malvis, and seeming to be interested in him. After a moment, and some prodding, she explains that the man was not seen for several days afterwards, but then reappeared, now claiming that his friend is missing, and seeing that we are here, is requesting the help of others. The information provided has not done much to answer any of their questions, but it does make the whole situation appear to be not what it immediately seemed. After digesting the information for a moment, Miss Mitchum then asks about wishing to see the rest of the temple. Callie obliges happily, saying that she can show the group around, since Yolanda apparently has made her exit.